All right, time now for a look at what some new films are hitting the theaters this weekend. We're joined live by film critic Richard Crouse. So, Richard, the first movie you took a look at was a biopic about the king of rock and roll. Now, if you have to ask who that is, I would suggest you probably might want to check that out. If you know who that is, you probably want to check it out anyway.
Yeah, I think so. Elvis fans, I think, will probably love this. It's directed by Baz Luhrmann. And, you know, if you know his other films like Moulin Rouge, like The Great Gatsby, you know that they are high style, frenetically edited. They are colorful. They move at the speed of light. And they're really interesting to listen to. He does really great things with music in all his films. And here he has a great subject. We follow Elvis Presley from his birth almost right up into the Las Vegas days. But we see it through the point of view of Colonel Tom Parker, his manager, played here by Tom Hanks. The movie skims over a lot of what I think are kind of important things, but it really gives you a sense of who Elvis Presley was, mostly because of a pretty incredible performance by a guy called Austin Butler. He does all his own singing. He plays guitar. He certainly has the Elvis, the pelvis moves down flat. And this is a performance that I think could be nominated for an Academy Award come award season next time. So it's a little superficial, but Austin Butler does not do an impression of Elvis. He does a real portrayal, and that, I think, is what makes this movie really stand out.
Yeah, just watching the trailer right there as you're talking, it looks like he's really got those moves down, so should be a fun one to watch. So the next one is The Black Phone, starring Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, this is Ethan Hawke as a full-blown villain, which I don't think we've seen him do before. On Moon Knight, he's a bad guy, but he's not as villainous as the character he plays here, who's called the Grabber, because he grabs teenage boys from the streets of 1978 Denver, in this small town in Denver somewhere, and locks them up in a basement and does terrible things. In this one, what's interesting about it, we're seeing his last victim here. He gets locked up, and there's a black telephone hanging on the wall. It's disconnected, but when the young boy is alone, the phone will ring, and it's the voices coming through the phone of the grabber's previous victims who give him advice on how to survive and maybe even how to escape. So this is a movie that has some supernatural elements for sure. These voices are coming from beyond the grave, but that's not the scary part here. The scary part is Ethan Hawke's performance as the grabber. It's enormously creepy because he's playing a human who is menacing and evil, and you don't know what he's going to do next. So Ethan Hawke really sold this for me. It's called The Black Phone. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and it's in theaters right now.
All right, so a good selection right there. And finally, tell us about Slashback.
Yeah, this is in theaters as well. Shot on Baffin Island. This is a story set in a very small, very remote community where the sun shines 24 hours a day during the summer solstice. So while this film is taking place, and most horror movies of this kind take place in the dark. And there's something that's even creepier when it never gets dark because it exposes everything. You see absolutely everything that happens. So this is a film about a young group of indigenous girls living and growing up in this community who start to notice some really strange things happening. There's a polar bear that behaves strangely, and it turns out that this is a shape-shifting alien, perhaps some sort of beast that's come to terrorize their community, and they have to band together to save their community. So you've got a fun Goonies-style adventure set in a really unique and interesting place. The mix of indigenous culture in here that sort of butts up against a storyline that has little bits of, you know, The Thing and other movies like it all woven in. Makes for a lot of fun at the movies. It's called Slashback, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars.
All right, Richard Crouse, always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.